Pastor Lawrence Champion Blake was known as a man of steady faith long before the announcement of his passing. His name carried quiet respect across church communities, not because he demanded attention, but because his life reflected consistency, discipline, and humility. When news confirmed that Elder Lawrence Blake passed away on January 27, 2026, at the age of 54, the response was immediate and deeply emotional. This was not simply the loss of a pastor. It was the loss of a spiritual leader whose life had been shaped by service and commitment. Today, we will reflect on his life, his ministry, the response from the faith community, and we will also share the latest funeral update. Shortly after the announcement of his passing, a deeply moving tribute came from his wife, Jeanine Blake, and whose words offered a personal window into the man many knew as a pastor, but whom she knew as a husband, partner, and constant source of strength. In her message, Jeanine Blake described Lawrence as a man whose faith was not limited to the pulpit. She spoke of his consistency, his quiet resolve, and his unwavering commitment to God and family. She shared that even during his most difficult moments, his concern was never centered on himself. Instead, he remained focused on encouraging others, praying for those around him, and ensuring that his family and congregation felt supported. She expressed that their life together was built on shared faith and purpose. Ministry, she said, was never something Lawrence carried alone. It was something they walked through together. His leadership at church reflected the same patience, discipline, and compassion he practiced at home. Jeanine Blake acknowledged the pain of loss but spoke with clarity and peace. She shared that Lawrence lived his life fully committed to his calling and left this world with faith intact. Her tribute was not centered on sorrow alone, but on gratitude. Gratitude for the years they shared, for the ministry they built side by side, and for the lives touched by his leadership. She described him as a man who never sought recognition. His fulfillment came from service, from showing up consistently, from doing the work quietly and faithfully, even when no one was watching. As the community absorbed the news of his passing, many reflected on how Elder Lawrence Blake had remained active in ministry even while facing serious health challenges. Despite enduring a prolonged battle with cancer, he continued to encourage others and remain spiritually engaged. His illness never defined his identity. His faith did. Those close to him shared that he faced uncertainty with courage. He did not allow physical weakness to diminish spiritual strength. Even during treatment and hospitalization, his words remained focused on hope, perseverance, and trust in God. Elder Lawrence Blake was hospitalized earlier in the week before his passing. He later transitioned at Memorial Hermann Hospital in the Woodlands, surrounded by loved ones. The family shared that he faced his final days with peace and resolve, having remained steadfast in faith until the end. His life story began long before leadership titles and pulpits. Elder Lawrence Champion Blake was the eldest son of Bishop Blake and was raised in an environment where ministry was lived daily. Church was not an occasional obligation in his household. It was a way of life. From a young age, he observed the responsibility and sacrifice required to lead a faith community. He understood early that leadership was tied to accountability. He did not rely on his family name for authority. Instead, he believed that trust had to be built through character and consistent service. Before becoming a senior pastor, Elder Lawrence Blake spent many years serving faithfully at West Angeles Church of God in Christ. His responsibilities were wide-ranging. He assisted church leadership, supported ministry operations, worked closely with congregants, and guided younger members of the church. And those who served alongside him describe him as dependable and disciplined. He arrived early. He stayed late. He listened carefully. He stepped into roles whether they were visible or unseen. He did not treat service as preparation for leadership. He treated service as leadership itself. His appointment as senior pastor of Palm Lane Church of God in Christ marked a significant chapter in his journey. The role reflected years of preparation, mentorship, and demonstrated commitment. As senior pastor, Elder Lawrence Blake adopted a leadership style rooted in compassion rather than command. Congregants often described his presence as calming. He led with empathy and clarity. His approach emphasized redemption, responsibility, and restoration. He believed ministry should meet people where they are, and acknowledging that faith journeys are shaped by real struggles and real lives. His sermons were known for being practical and grounded. He did not rely on dramatic delivery. Instead, he spoke with sincerity and conviction. His messages focused on perseverance, faith during hardship, accountability, and remaining rooted in purpose. These teachings became especially powerful as he faced his own health challenges. Rather than withdrawing, he embodied the very principles he preached. His faith was not performative, it was lived. Beyond the pulpit, Elder Lawrence Blake was deeply committed to his family. He was a devoted husband, a loving father, and a proud grandfather. Those close to him consistently say that family was never secondary to ministry. It was foundational. He made intentional choices to balance leadership responsibilities with home life. He was present. He listened. He prioritized time with loved ones. In an era when public ministry often overshadows personal life, he modeled integrity behind the scenes. This balance earned him quiet respect within and beyond church circles. He did not separate faith from daily life. He lived it consistently at home, in leadership meetings, and in private conversations. As news of his passing spread, tributes began to emerge from church members, community leaders, and individuals whose lives he had touched. Many reflected on moments when his guidance helped them through difficult seasons. Others spoke of how his calm leadership provided stability during uncertainty. What stood out most in these reflections was consistency. And people did not describe dramatic moments. They described steady presence, quiet encouragement, reliable leadership. As the community continues to process this loss, attention has turned toward how Elder Lawrence Blake's life will be formally honored. The Blake family released an official funeral update, inviting the public to join them in celebrating his life and ministry at his homegoing celebration. The homegoing celebration is scheduled for Wednesday, February 11th, 2026, at 10 a.m. at West Angeles Cathedral. A public viewing will take place from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. prior to the service. Church leaders have encouraged those planning to attend to approach the gathering with reverence and patience. The service is expected to focus on honoring a life of faith rather than spectacle. Within faith communities, a homegoing celebration is not viewed as an ending alone. It is a recognition of a life completed in service. Elder Lawrence Blake's ministry reflected that belief. His impact was measured not by visibility, but by faithfulness. As the date approaches, the days leading up to the service have become a time of collective reflection. Prayer gatherings, quiet conversations, and shared memories are shaping how the community will come together. The Blake family has respectfully requested privacy as they grieve and reflect. At the same time, they have expressed deep gratitude for the prayers, love, and support extended to them and to the Palm Lane and West Angeles church communities. What stands out most in the response to Elder Lawrence Blake's passing is the tone. There is sorrow, but also gratitude. There is grief, but also clarity. People are not asking what he accumulated. They are remembering how he served. This funeral update is not about finality. It is about preparation. It is about recognizing the impact of a life lived with intention. The homegoing celebration has not yet taken place, but the legacy of Elder Lawrence Blake is already visible in the unity and respect surrounding it. As the farewell approaches, the community continues to prepare not only logistically, but spiritually. They are preparing to honor a pastor who led with humility, served with compassion, and endured hardship with faith. Elder Lawrence Champion. Blake's life reminds many that leadership is not measured by volume, but by consistency. His influence will continue through the people he mentored, the congregations he served, and the values he lived by. The goodbye has not yet been spoken. But the impact of his life is already being felt, as a community prepares to say farewell with dignity, gratitude, and faith.